My name is Niel Bushnell, and I'm the author of Sorrowline. Prologue. Prophecy. Ruland wiped the blood from the length of his sword on the heavy curtains of the Parliament chamber. Around him, splayed on the floor, were the Ealdormen of Eldwick, their faces frozen into hideous death masks commemorating the terror and anguish they'd felt as Ruland had impaled each one in turn. He walked amongst his victims, stopping to close their petrified eyes. He owed them that much, he supposed. These men and women had formed the high assembly of the First World, representatives of the noble houses that had reigned for centuries. They had been his peers. Some he had even considered his friends. The sword glowed softly in his hand. It had been a long time since it had feasted like this. Ruland felt its impatient tug and made a mental note to place it somewhere safe. It was getting far too strong, but he knew he would need it if the prophecy was to be believed. The prophecy. Ruland cursed to himself. It was because of the damned prophecy that he had been forced to annihilate the Parliament. He felt anger surge up through him, and he kicked the nearest body. It was Jura. Once, years ago, he had been his closest ally, their friendship sealed in battle. But Jura's voice had become the loudest in dissent. He had openly challenged Ruland's term as Prime Ealdorman. In retaliation, Ruland had killed everyone in the Parliament, saving Jura till the end. But murdering old friends had not held the pleasure he had thought it would. He looked at the bodies, one on top of another, and he felt suddenly alone. All because of the prophecy. The door clicked open, and a dark figure entered, a lean woman in a close-fitting suit of armour. Ruland felt his mood lift at the sight of his faithful servant, Captain Alder de Vienne, and his wicked, beautiful face cracked with a smile. "I'm done," he said unemotionally. "Hang the bodies on the gates so all can see them." Captain de Vienne nodded as she inspected the room. "You understand why?" Ruland asked, his tense exterior eased in the private company of de Vienne. "The prophecy," de Vienne replied. "It is upon us at last." Ruland fell into the high chair at the end of the Parliament chamber and threw his legs over the side. It is sometime in September 1940. Everyone is in agreement on that point. And the month and year are upon us now. I have studied all of Hafkan's work, even those volumes lost to us, and if my calculations are correct, the prophecy will begin today. I'm convinced of it. The boy from upstream will arrive today. So the prophecy tells us. A boy from upstream, from the future, will come among us and bring an end, he gestured about him, to all this. It was more than logical deduction, Ruland conceded to himself. There was a growing feeling, an apprehension deep within. He could feel the shifting tides of destiny all about him, coming together in a crescendo of events. Things were happening. His eyes moved quickly. "I will not allow my reign to end. You and your sisters must begin your search. He will be with us soon." Captain de Vienne bowed, then left Ruland alone with the corpses. The Parliament chamber became silent. Ruland was aware of the sword again, glowing, throbbing. He pressed it into the nearest body and allowed it to feed from the last scraps of life force before he stood to leave. Now his great mind began to calculate the multitude of events that could unfold from this moment onwards. Then, for a brief instant, he thought about the boy. The boy from the prophecy. Ruland tried to picture him, to imagine what he might look like, what year he might live in. He realised the futility of his mind game and felt foolish for trying. Rational thought took over again, and he returned to his plans. He pulled the sword from the body and stared into the shadows. An elongated caped figure grew out of the dark corner. As it bowed its shrouded head to Ruland, a trail of smoke drifted from within its feathered hood. "Come," Ruland said to the Grimnar as he walked out of the Parliament chamber. "We have much work to do."